that I didn't want this if it meant I weren't right for it, because I wanted the reason why I landed this role to be performance-based. I wanted to earn it. And I had a deep sense that if I'm not right for this, that's okay, but I want to give it my absolute all.
She earned this, overcoming her own shadow to do this. She was our only Glinda at that point. There was no turning back from there. And then we had these two. I'm like, do these two come together? And the more we put the pictures and we're like, they're the same size.
Listen, all right, I just want to say, too many people are throwing shades. Yeah. I'll see myself out.
And the more we put the pictures and we're like,
Dad
they're the
jokes are
same
bad
size.
jokes, but they're my favorite jokes.
Both, their vocals are just giant. I'll never forget
Giant?
when we were like, we're making the offer.
I could see with Cynthia, but
They're gonna find out. And I was like, I wanna tell them first.
And I think the world needs to see more of you. And I think we would love for you to be our Alphaba in.
okay, Cynthia.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well deserved.
We want you to be our Glinda the Good in the Wicked freaking movie.
I love her so much. I'm gonna take such good care of her. Thank you so much.
Makes that brings the warm and fuzzies. So obviously, like, you know, these are artists that give they are passionate about this. There's a purist nature of, I think, for the musical theater fans, and I understand it. I'm not in the musical theater world, but I am in the opera world, and that is a theater world. It is so much different to do movies and theater and musical theater, and when you get directors and a lot of can sometimes feel like lip service to people talking about how much they love the musical theater bit, but then they don't give enough, or people will feel like they don't give enough to the musical theater culture, community, those performers. It can feel extremely aggravating. I do believe both of them do come from and have their origins in musical theater. Let me double check that real quick. So Cynthia Erivo went to school for musical theater, which is the usual path now. And Ariana Grande has been on Broadway. She was on, it looks like she was on Broadway. Yeah, she was on Broadway before she was on Nickelodeon. These are people who have their origins in the theater. Now, you can make the argument, okay, well, they haven't paid their dues to the extent. That's, fine. But how much of that is we want people to pay their dues and pay respect, and then how much of it is gatekeeping? I think if these people, if they come from the theater, if that's their background, if that's their origin, I think that should be enough. So then the next thing we have to talk about, I think, is can they do it? What are their abilities, right? I think that's probably the more important point of discussion. So let's dig into that. So this was a while ago. This is not bad. It's not bad belting. I mean, like, not bad when we're talking like professional levels. Like, she's quite young here, and this is quite professional. That was her when she was younger. This seems like if she sang a very different style in the movie. Let's check that out.
Be popular. I'll help you be popular. You'll hang with the right cohorts. You'll be good at sports. Know the slang you've got to know. So that's
It's a very different style. That's more of like a popera. Popera is taking classical aesthetics, trying to make it sound good on a microphone, and obviously taking some pop idioms. Because opera does not always sound... Some of the things that work in opera just don't fucking work close up on a mic. They just don't. So if I were in a theater singing over an orchestra and I wanted to do a pianissimo, the way that I would do that is I would isolate a muscle, at least as a tenor, I would isolate a muscle called the area epiglottic sphincter. That isolates a frequency that would project over an orchestra. This is from J. Markin Knight. He uses this graph. This is one of my favorites. So this is the singer's formant right here. This is the frequency. This is the like right around 2 to 3K. Una furtiva lagrima negli occhi suoi spuntò,elle festose giovani. So if I do that in the theater, it won't project. Because you can see that 2 to 3K is not occupied. But if I do, it sounds like absolute ass close up on a condenser microphone. A condenser microphone with a lot of compression, what you're getting is all of these frequencies are being squashed. And what gets predominant is going to be the frequencies, which is 2 to 3K, which is not a great sounding frequency in isolation. It's actually, if for record, that's the frequency that babies cry at. So we don't find that pleasant. Now, if I remove all of the compression, okay, get a different sound. I can't remove all of the compression necessarily because I am using a condenser microphone, and there is some compression native to YouTube and to all this stuff. So there's always going to be compression, but I'm just trying to mitigate it as much as I can. I'm going to lower the volume as well. See that without the compression, look at how different. So whenever I like have my mic at like talking volume and I have my compression maxed out, which I, when you're speaking you do, it's going to be different. And so when we're singing opera, it requires a different approach. This is a stylistic choice that is very deliberate. It is not classical. It is not musical theater. It is opera. It is its own kind of genre. It's the Andrea Bocelli. It's its own thing, and there's a reason why it exists, and there's a reason why the approach exists. That gets artistic choice out of the way, right? So that's why she's singing in that way. Now, how does she execute it? Oops, it's time, that's my alarm clock to do some analysis of Ariana Grande. Yeah, so those are things you wouldn't do in opera, right? So we got to get the mix of it. And
to reside with someone so disgusting-ified. We just want to tell you we're all on your...
It sounds like they got legit musical theater people for the chorus. I would imagine there's no reason not to, right?
Linda, you are just too good. She's a terror.
Well,
Yeah.
these things are sent to try us.
So why does that sound like opera? It's its own special kind of technique. So it's a lot less squealo. It actually kind of makes it difficult in a way. Squealo, when you contract the area epiglottic sphincter, which is what provides you with the cut, that is in opera, it actually helps you raise your larynx a little bit, which helps you go higher. Because those muscles are positioned such that they're above here, so when they contract, the larynx goes up a little bit. So you can actually see it. Now I'm getting my camera up. This is without squealo. Getting a tilt from the vibrato. That's a little dry, hold on. Mucosal lining. Laryngeal tilt is really important part of opera. Without squealo. With squealo. One will be without squealo. It's not so easy for me to isolate because I'm so used to doing it all the time. But it's another difference that's going to happen here is that she's going to dip in and out of vibrato. You wouldn't do that necessarily. It's not unheard of to not have vibrato when you sing opera. It's just not very common. And people get shit for it. It's a choice, but it's not practical because you get a lot of power when you have vibrato. When she's dipping in and out of vibrato, that's another idiom of opera. But so your larynx will go up a little bit. Let me show you the muscles. Let me bring this up. These are the folds right here. These are the vocal folds. And this is the larynx. This is the AES. These are the epiglottic sphincter. It's These two together make a sphincter. And when these contract, the vocal folds kind of position, they go up a little bit with the arytenoid cartilage, right? So they go up. To remove that 2 to 3K sound, you don't want to contract these. So it sounds on a mic actually kind of a little bit more rich in a way. By the way, also contracting the AS is part of belting. It's a fundamental part of it. Anyway, these are very specific things, and this is not within Ariana's general wheelhouse. It's not that she can't do it, it's that like this is not what she does every single day. Although I imagine that she did do it every single day, you know, leading up to the film, right? I think she sounds really good. People are, you know, there's room for criticism. No one's perfect, right? You can make critique, but I often find that what people are critiquing is not, I don't find it to be substantial. There's really not much about this that I find pleasant. I don't really know what the criticism would be. So you have an entire cast of clearly the choir is musical theater, even if the people on stage are maybe more dancers, and then you have in the recording, well, they did it live, they did the singing live, right? So it just makes sense from an economic point of view, just hire a bunch of musical theater singers. Before I give them credit, because it is Hollywood, let me just double check that that's exactly what they did. Not easy to find ensemble people unless I actually had the legit credits in front of me. That said, it is common practice to hire people with theater experience. When you're doing theater, it makes sense. It's practical, right? Even if you have the most cynical view, you're gonna hire, if you're a pragmatic, you know, you bottom line person, you want dollars, you hire the people that know the music, you hire the people that do it, and you want union, right? So, because you're union, so you grab people that do it, and you don't have to train them, you don't have to do anything, they know it, and they sound it, and everyone's happy. So you just do that, and it makes sense from a business point of view, and it is common practice. So there's no official way, but you can pretty safely rest assured that is what happened. You could argue that you could get people that maybe were slightly more familiar with the sort of opera Disney aesthetic, kind of like I know you, something once upon a dream, I know you, with that whole style, right? But they're not gonna put the butts in seats. Like, I don't know if y'all know this, Ariana Grande, kind of a big deal. Kind of a known name, right? So like this is the best kind of compromise that you could possibly expect from a studio. Got someone who can fucking sing, man. Ariana Grande is no chump. Like she's got chops, and she's doing something that's not something she does every day, leading up to it, right? And it's not how she sang Wicked when, you know, we first saw her, right? I don't know what people are expecting. It's not maybe perfection, but that's live singing. Like there are performances that people have walked out of given by like Pavarotti and by Joan Sutherland, given by like people who are known. There's a Verdi singer who's known for his technique and for his consistency, Carlo Berganzi, and I've heard live recordings of him where like, Jesus Christ, that's rough. He was doing Rigoletto, and that's a bitch. Act 1 is insane. It's insane what you have to do in Act 1. So like in Act 2, he was fine. But like, you know, it's live. It happens. They recorded live. Now maybe they did multiple takes, and so they got the best. But I don't know what you expect. So, you know, but I think it's really well done. She did a great job, and clearly it means a lot to her. Yeah, and we'll do another video on Cynthia Erivo, just because I love her, and fuck yeah.